Hi, this is Bethany Marshall, and I'm the publishing director at Morgan James Publishing. And today we are here to celebrate with our author, Hank Moore, the launch of his book, The Big Picture of Business, Book 3. Wow, Hank, the third book in
That's right.
a series. Congratulations, and thank
And
you.
my sixth book with Morgan James, proud to be part of the Morgan James team. I had done six other books with other publishers before that.
Wow, what an acclaimed author. That is such a privilege to have you on the Morgan James roster and a privilege to have your company today. And thank you so much for being here and congratulations on this next release. What a big accomplishment.
My pleasure.
So I would love to ask you a few questions. And the first question I'd like to ask today is, what, in your opinion, are the biggest challenges for businesses?
To try and reimagine what's going to be next in any crisis, which we're in right now, but there are always going to be crises in business. People are constantly wanting to cling to what they think they started as. Problem with most businesses, and I have advised thousands, including 100 of the Fortune 500, what they start out to become and what they emerge into and what they're going to be, it's different stages that they need to be guided through. So companies need to think of themselves as evolving, just like human beings, which are microcosms of the companies they're in. The old ways of doing it just don't cut it anymore. So we need to judiciously move forward with strategy and with tactics.
Wow, that's very insightful. So this is the only or one of the few, it's a very comprehensive business book series. So it's more than just one book. So can you tell me a little bit about how the series developed?
Okay, I had written some other books before. The Business Tree, I had another, that was my signature business model, which was endorsed by Peter Drucker, the father of American business. He called it the most original business model in 50 years prior to his death. And we worked together. I had the pleasure of working with a lot of the giants of business, Tom Peters, Stephen Covey, W. Edwards Deming, Mr. Drucker, all of them. We spoke together at conferences. They brought me into, in other words, I was in business, re-guiding businesses from new and creatively different directions before I started writing books about it. In other words, the books stemmed from the strategies, and many of the strategies include case studies that came along as a result of it. I worked on some of the most famous business crises of the last 40 years, notably the Tylenol, tainted Tylenol case, the collapse and reemergence of United Way of America. I guided them after a bankruptcy scandal. The shootings at Columbine High School in Colorado, I guided that community in Colorado to recovery and have advised others. So I've been involved in a lot of crises that turn into better business opportunities. And as a business advisor, I would get called in a lot of times to look at pieces of the problem. That's the biggest problem in business, bringing in niche consultants who are trying to tell you what you need is what they have to sell rather than what your company needs. And I've been doing this for a long time. With corporations, again, I've advised 100 of the Fortune 500. I've reorganized, Marriott, AT&T, Texaco, a lot of really big companies. I've taken a lot of companies public on Wall Street. I've reconfigured a lot of small businesses into roll-ups and growth opportunities. I've created new business units for some of them, such as Hewlett Packard, that spun off into other corporations. So it's very important to share the stories of how we did what we did, but more importantly, the strategy is that you look at a big picture. And that's why this was book one in the series, which came out a couple or 3 years back. And again, this series was designed as a series, not as a one-off book. It includes kinds of chapters that about half of the stuff in this book, maybe 2/3, it does not appear in any other business book. The niche writers and consultants can't write about big picture strategy and how it trickles down to the small parts and then back to the big picture because they've never done that before. So I'm writing about the kinds of things that no one else conceivably could have done except for some of the people that are no longer with us, like Mr. Drucker. When Mr. Drucker started his business series, it started as one book, and then it became 2 and a few more and a few more. It was never done as a series. So I took the work that I had done in my previous 6 books, 3 of which were bestsellers with other publishers, and I was trying to do a series that would have shelf life, library shelf life, and now for the first time all 3 of the books are now available to be added to the shelves. We're talking about book 3. Why are we surprised to know that there's a book 4 coming? That's what I'm working on right now. I just finished a chapter for that book on a topic that's in the news every day of the world called supply chain management, and no one has ever written on that subject. So I pick a lot of the topics that no one has done. For example, in the new book, Big Picture Book 3, there is a story of the automobile and its complete impact on American society and business. Very, very important. And we get into the fast food restaurants. I've advised several of those. I was an advisor to Kentucky Fried Chicken in their phenomenal growth and comeback and growth again, and Marriott and some of the other guys. So again, half the case studies in here were my own. I don't have to live case studies. I can use my own. So it's really important to treat this like your company is at a crossroads and you have an opportunity to sit with a business guru who gives you every idea. And then once you leave the meeting, in the case of this, the reading, they're your ideas. I love turning over pride and authorship of the ideas and the strategies. One of the strategies is to go back and look at all the old ideas that other companies did, good and bad, usually bad, and you want to improve upon it. And then, and leadership. There are leadership chapters. There are books out that are just about leadership, but I've always got about 3 chapters. Each of these books has 33 chapters. There's 3 of them out. Number 4 is coming. And there are chapters, informational chapters. There are ways of looking at new things. About a year ago, when I was working on book 2, a lot of people at the Morgan James red carpet launch, and I've been to 3 of them now. When I was talking about my Nonprofit Legends book, which is my second Morgan James book, and I consider that a cousin to this. It's everything about the business of nonprofits, and that was my special baby because community give back is really important to everybody. But when I was working on that at the Morgan James launch, some of the other authors, this is where you get your best ideas from your friends and colleagues. They said, well, you've created high cost of doing nothing and all these different things. Why don't you write a chapter about all of your own original business models? Do you even have any idea how many you've done? And it turned out to be 20. Most business gurus have 1 business model. I had 20. That was chapter either 1 or 2 in this book, which I started out. And so what I'm trying, then I followed it in this book, which is really the current book, so to speak, with descriptions of every aspect of business that other people have talked about from a big picture perspective. No one's ever done that in a book before. And that's why I'm so excited about it as series. In book 1, we talked a lot about how we got to where we got. So if you want to know about pandemics and recessions and depressions and everything that seemingly is current, we've all been through this before. What did we learn out of them? That's in that book. Then you get into here, where I'm talking about redefining every niche topic that everyone ever thought of in business from a big picture, how they all fit together. And then in the new one, we get into new creative ways of looking at topics that no one has ever looked at. When I was doing Nonprofit Legends, I was chagrined to learn that no one had ever written a history of public television and public radio. That's a nonprofit. So I wrote a chapter about it. Next thing I knew, I was doing fundraisers with public television stations celebrating their history and their magic. And no one had ever bothered to write a history about them. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing one in the new book, book 4. Again, I have to, it's a series. And I want everyone watching to think of it as a continuum. I'm currently working, people say, what did you do during the months of this year? I've done 6 chapters already. And three of them are a series called The Masters of Repurposing, and it's a complete study of the internet business economy of the last 15 years, how it happened, why it happened, how it's going the way it's going, how it operates. It's too much for one chapter, but it's The Masters of Repurposing. One of those chapters, I took it to look at how the entertainment industry had totally repurposed itself. And then I'm also working on chapters on other aspects of it, supply chain management, family-run businesses. Again, I look for the things that no one's written about because no one's ever worked with businesses in those sectors. And then I write them, and then I use them in work and test them with the case studies. And then again, and there's always case studies also in the book, my case studies and other people's.
Wow, that's incredible. I love so much of what you had to say there, but I think, it really stands out that this truly is an encyclopedic knowledge bank of business strategies and legends in business. So
I'm very proud of it. I'm proud to have been in a position to do that. And so this is pretty much the complete series. A year from now, book 4 will come out. And that'll probably be the last in the series because I'm already working on the book after that, which I've been literally working on for 20 years. And it's called Pop Music Legends. And it's a complete story of the music industry of the last 125 years. It has endorsements from Beyonce, Paul McCartney, Mick Jagger, Burt Bacharach, Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and others. But that's after this series.
After this series, but I can't wait to learn more about that book down the road.
And that all stemmed from an earlier phase of my life. I was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992 as a result of being a radio disc jockey in the beginning of my career. And I was inducted by Sonny and Cher. And later this year, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has just created a greatest books list category, and my books collectively have been inducted. I was the first author. And they claim because there's always something musical in each book, though they're business books, but that book, which will be my 14th book, is exclusively about the music industry. But business is the umbrella over everything. Nonprofit community service is the backbone of everything. It all has to fit together. And that's what I'm trying to chronicle in ways that no one else has ever had the material to put in a book. So it's my pleasure to do it.
Incredible, incredible. Well, love the macro approach that you take to business and these series of books. And I think a lot of people right now are looking for direction and guidance and would love to be able to look at historically what has worked to help navigate different transitions and pandemics and different challenges that businesses have faced over the years. Mm-hmm. So from your perspective as the author of this incredible series of business books, what are your recommendations for businesses recovering moving forward right now?
First of all, it takes more than just a loan from a bank if we're talking in current terms. It takes more than just more money to go throw at the wall and do more of what you're doing. You need to look at the new way. I've been talking and writing for 10, 15 years about remote-based businesses and online businesses. It's been evolving and should have evolved 15 years ago. But where things are going now is it's important that businesses have a plan. Research tells us only 2% of the businesses in America and in the world actually even have a plan. Is it any wonder then that they fail? So if I were the banks giving out the money right now, I would say, where's your plan? Is it a real plan? Is it something more than just a bunch of marketing slogans and technology jargon? That's all wonderful, but that's part of the package. And I think it's important to look at the big picture of where your business is going. Too many businesses want to change, didn't want to not change. Research tells us that change is 90% positive. The average business and the average individual change at the rate of 71% per year. Now the question is the change for the good or the change for the bad? People standing still will be stuck in time and then wonder someday whatever happened. As for the current time period, this is a very realistic thing to say. There are a large percentages of businesses right now with or without aid that are not going to survive. But a lot of them should be thinking about how you can partner with other businesses. I wrote about that. And each chapter has a partnering, joint venturing, and collaboration. And it shows new and creative ways to work together with other businesses, people that used to be your competitor. Some of those same people are people that you might want to buy and do roll-ups. That's going to be one of the trends of the future, with new and creative roll-ups of services. And that's how you put things like that together. You know, when all the big companies had to change, and usually some crisis caused them to change. And crisis management and preparedness is more than just an academic exercise. It literally is, where are you going to go? How are you going to get there? Who are you going to work with? Who are you going to partner with? What are your resources? What mistakes are you going to make before you make them? Research tells us that 85% of the time, if you plan for the crises and the tragedies, you will avert them. Now, a pandemic was something that seemingly, and I'll stay away from politics, seemingly came at a certain time, but you constantly need to plan for the next and the next and the next. Research tells us that of those businesses who do no more planning, who don't think they need to change, 40% of them will be out of business in the next 5 years. And, you know, I've been predicting a recession now for over 10 years, and it finally happened. I don't like being right about stuff like this. What I have been saying is that small business and its fortitude to think differently, to transition differently, and to move forward will push back the next recession. And business will get out of this. I spent a lot of time the last several years working with other businesses as a result of other crises, be they hurricanes, wildfires in California, so on and so forth, cities in transition, you know, and when you talk about reimagining, got chapters in each of the 3 books on how to reimagine the business. There's 2 of those kind of chapters in each book. So there is a formula to the books. There's the important issues are updated, upgraded, and move forward. And that's why it's a book series. It never was just one book. There's so much there that we all need to think about. Once we think about, then we can plan. And people go, oh, a business has to do with just more money in the bank or a fancy mission statement. You know, no, a mission statement and $3 will buy you a cup of coffee. A mission statement usually is written at the end of the reimagining process, and I've written lots of them. I wrote one for Disney. They'd been in business at that point for, 70 years, and the reimagining mission that I wrote for them was Walt Wood, exclamation point, with Mickey Mouse ears on the exclamation point. Of course, you could hear a pin drop. By the way, they give their permission to be talked about as a business that has seen, has grown, has changed, and is going to keep changing. Their other companies don't want me talking about their missions, but the really good ones see themselves as messengers of change and agents of leadership, and that they can master the techniques and the strategies. Marketing, technology, HR, all of that is important, but consultants who write books on those topics have never looked at a big picture. So again, that's why it was just my honor and pleasure to do these, to share a lot of stuff. By the way, before I ever started writing books, I'd already written about 75 chapters, and there was a time 15 or 20 years ago that I would share with people white papers. I mean, I was schlepping around Xeroxes to every meeting. We were doing handouts in those days. So I was glad when the internet came along that I could start sharing what we now call blogs. But anyway, each of these has 33 chapters plus an index. By the way, the index, the appendix in the back of each book is a bunch of old magazine articles that I wrote over a period of many, many years in some really famous magazines: Rolling Stone, Cashbox, TV Guide, Time Magazine, the London Times. You get the idea. I think that all of us, by sharing our older work in the back of the book, can get companies to see where they came from, how they grew, and it gives them a better idea of where they're going, because a lot of the greatest, newest mission statements are rethinkings of what got you in business in the first place.
Wow, so incredible. What a wealth of knowledge and life experiences you bring to the table as an author, and that you've provided your readers. What a tremendous gift. And I know a lot of effort has gone into the process of taking those experiences and all of that hard-earned life knowledge that you've gleaned, and taken the process, and you've gone through the process of writing it and editing it and going through the effort of having these books published. And I know that in itself is no small feat. So congratulations again. And thank you for the work that you do and for being a Morgan James author. We are so proud of you, and great.
And I'm proud of the company. It's all about the content. All the authors care about the content. As it turns out, I've got some of the most gorgeous book covers, thanks to Morgan James. My covers really rock. And can you imagine when we get to Pop Music Legends, what that's going to look like? It's going to look like the Sgt. Pepper. I did one of my previous Morgan James books. I got to show the older work because I'm equally proud of it. These are killer covers. And the content is too. This was Pop Icons in Business Legends, which I consider part of the Big Picture Business series. They just were written first, and it's chock filled with thousands of case studies and histories and endorsements from Bill Gates and people like that. And then, of course, this was my baby. This was my ninth book, Nonprofit Legends, because we are all interested. No one is in business to give all of their time and resources away, but when we do, we want to make it count. Individuals, businesses, we're all there. So this is all part of the series, and I want the people that, when bookstores reopen, know that there is a shelf that can be reserved by the only comprehensive business book series on the market.
Incredible. Well, thank you again, Hank, and congratulations. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon.
See you soon.